This will be my attempt at a fall 60-minute garden. If you guys go back, you remember my attempt at a spring garden, which was, still see some little compost here in the weeds, but the soil was totally junk, so the plants just didn't grow. Well, since then we've acquired some goats and we've acquired a sawmill, which are two great sources of soil builder. So I just threw this together this evening. Basically just you know, I don't know if you call it a rogue raised bed or what, but just threw down this big thick sheet of cardboard, which by the way was from the metal for the goat barn. So I really wasn't planning on doing this raised bed tonight, and then I found this big piece of cardboard on the trailer and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So it's like 13 feet long and probably 4.5 feet wide, which no real particular reason why I made it that size, but I figure at that depth we ought to be able to come up and reach right into the middle to do stuff. And all I've done is just driven these wooden stakes in the dirt just to help, because when it wants to, it's going to want to push out eventually. These are just pine slabs off the sawmill. They're junk slabs basically. Yeah, I could have ripped them down and got a 2x4 or something, but they're junk slabs for all intents and purposes. Probably need to put a couple more stakes, you know, there and there. I just did enough to square it up tonight, and then just the weight of the dirt pushing outwards will hold it, so you don't have to have any stakes on the inside. But this was 2 bucket loads for tonight. It's a mix of all the goat manure, which is, the goat manure's got hay and sawdust in it too from the bedding, but then also pure sawdust off the sawmill. So I have no idea what the ratio is as far as carbon and nitrogen, but the goat manure itself is actually pretty balanced from what I can see. It's pretty cold. Honestly, the only reason I didn't put a 3rd bucket full in, the primary reason, was because when we got the 2nd bucket full, we had angered a whole lot of fire ants that thought that this pile of goat poo was their home. So I got bit up all around my ankles and they're still burning, which drives me nuts. I hate the little farts. I can tolerate the bite, but it just aggravates me. Anyway, so I'm gonna knock this down level, start to fill in this corner here, show my wife, and hopefully she'll like it, but it'll probably take 2 more bucketfuls to fill it. If we don't fill it yet, just based on the pile, the rest of the pile's over yonder, by the way, out there in the middle of what's gonna be the main garden someday. If we don't fill it yet, oh well, we'll just fill it as much as we can and we'll plant what we can. But we want to try to get a little fall garden in. We want to try to get some production going, because after that that spring attempt, that was very frustrating when we planted everything and it just simply did not grow. There are still some remains of it. I still have sweet potato vines. They never did get big and lush. They're still alive. I don't expect to find anything underneath of them because they never really grew any more than that all summer long. So they didn't grow either. Everything that I planted just stunted. It just acted like it was planted in sand, like there was just no nutrient, no nothing. It just stunted. Anyway, yeah, just figured I'd mention it. This is super simple, super cheap. Again, just using pine slabs. Yeah, they're gonna rot in a year or 2. I don't really care. This isn't meant to be permanent. And I don't want to use pressure treated, and I don't even know where you go buy heat treated, but I built this whole thing for free. You know, at this point, nothing more than my time put into it. So it's great that I have those resources. I'm super happy to have them and to put them to work. But like I said, we'll get it raked out, leveled out, and we'll try to find some plants to stick in it. It's got to do better than it did this spring.